So I'm having a major workshop clear out, and I wanted to make a couple of drawers for the modular storage to replace these sustainer drawers that I've been using temporarily for about 3 years. These will be my usual style of drawer, but to mix it up a little bit, I thought I'd make the drawer fronts, the fascias, out of an old piece of oak floorboard that I found when I was clearing out the other side of the workshop. I've been using it as a shelf. It's about the right size, and it comes with its own recycling eco credentials. So I stripped the lacquer off with a sander. This is the Mirka Ligno Ultimax abrasive, by the way, pretty nice. Anyway, I stripped it off and chose the best parts of the plank to avoid the knots and cut it to size, remembering to make each fascia 12mm half-inch undersized. I had a shelf from the storage unit that was the perfect template for the drawer base. I stripped the tongue off the oak floorboard, then started on the rebate, making several passes at just the right depth at each end of the blank. And while the saw was set up, I also made the cut for the rebate in the base of the fascia. That sits over the base of the drawer. I'll clear the waste at the router table later. And it was round about now that I realised that it's not the fascia, the drawer front, that needs to be 12mm smaller. It's the base that needs to be narrower to allow for the drawer sides. I just cut the two fronts 12mm, half an inch undersized, out of the only piece of oak that I've got of this size. You know, sometimes it's just not your day, and it's better just to stop and come back another day. And this is that other day. Let's get these drawers done. Now, the way I made these drawers is really simple, but it can be a little bit complex to explain. So what I've done is I've done a fact sheet, a super simple set of plans that's available for free right now to 10-Minute Workshop Plus members, and I'll put a link to it in the next newsletter. More details at 10minuteworkshop.com, or sign up for the newsletter directly at 10minuteworkshop.email. So the base and the backs of these drawers will be in 12mm and the sides in 6mm birch ply. I'm just using up whatever small bits and pieces I've got. And I've turned up another length of water-damaged oak floorboard. I've got a few of those too, don't ask. And no lacquer to strip on this one, fortunately. I've used the template from before to set the stop on the Benchdogs fence and cross-cut the board to 2 equal lengths. Then rip the tongue off one edge of each board before ripping them to the right height. The spaces in the carcass are slightly different, but I want the drawers to be interchangeable, so I've made them both the same. I've set the blade height to 12mm and the fence to 6mm, both off lengths of scrap material, and then I can rebate the ends of each drawer front to take the 6mm sides, one pass at a time. The sliding table and the little Festool trim saw working particularly well here. With both ends rebated, I can set the fence with a 12mm offcut and make the rebate cuts along the length of the fascia, again taking a few passes. And then clearing out the bulk of the waste with the scraper. Over to the router bench next to make a finishing pass. Long rebate at 12mm first. And then for the 6mm ends, rather than move the fence, I've just stepped it out with lengths of 6mm scrap, and I'm using an offcut as a backer to help keep the fascias square against the fence. Drawer base is next, and I'm trimming the 12mm birch down to the right width. It needs to match the fascia rebate, so it's worth checking that. Then I can cut the two bases to size. The drawer sides need to be the same height as the fascia, so I've set the fence and cut 2 strips of 6mm ply. Then use the base as a gauge to mark and cut the sides to length. For the drawbacks, I'm using an old loose 10 jig trade show sign I had made years ago. You don't throw away birch ply these days. And I've temporarily added a 12mm offcut to the fence to allow for the thickness of the base. Then, remembering to attach the vacos, I've ripped a couple of strips. Then cut these strips to length, again using the base as a gauge. So I glue and nail these drawers together, and here I'm just fixing the 12mm back to the base using the back from the other drawer for balance. And then I'm adding on the 6mm sides, again just glued and pinned through with 18 gauge nails, taking care to line up the edges of course. And we might as well check that the fascias fit okay while we're here. All good, so while the glue sets, it's my usual fast grab PVA. While the glue sets, I can get on with the handle cutouts. Masking tape makes the sanding easier later and the lines easier to see now, of course. And then I can mark the centre of the oak fascias and draw around my usual handle cutout template. I can cut the bulk of the waste away with a jigsaw. Then finish off with a bearing guided cutter in a router. Masking tape off and I can give them a little light sanding, just knocking off those sharper edges. And then I can fit the fascias to the drawer boxes with plenty of glue around that rebate. And a few 18 gauge nails driven in from the sides to hold everything together and to keep the fascias clear. With a glue set, everything gets a quick rub down to take off any glue squeeze, ending up with a P180 before applying a finish. I'm just using a liquid beeswax applied with a stockinette cloth and then buffed up after it's had a chance to soak in for a little while. So there we go, not the finest looking pieces of water damaged oak floorboards you're ever going to come across, especially not after I'd broken a jigsaw blade in them. But they've come out really nice. The oak fronts just makes a variation on my standard style of drawer box like this, 6mm size because they're not going to take that much weight. And to be honest, I happen to have some 6mm birch. It's quite nice to actually have loose tin and jig plus on the inside of this drawer, just to remind me of, you know, where we've come, and also not to take anything too seriously. That big jig was made for a trade show, and that side is finished with now. But anyway, there we are. I can start getting the sustainer drawers, the contents of those into the contents of these. I may end up putting a divider or two in there, but that's for a future video. I'll call this one done for this week. Thanks so much for taking a look. Thanks, as always, to my 10-Minute Workshop Plus members. Come and join us at 10minuteworkshop.com, details at 10minuteworkshop.com, or sign up directly at 10minuteworkshop.plus. But that's it for this one. Thanks so much for taking a look. I'll see you all again very soon. All right, take care.